I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Tony and Olivier winning an Oscar and Emmy nominated actor Jonathan Pryce. First of all, Jonathan, speaking of awards, congratulations on your Golden Globe nomination for The Crown.
Very kind of you, thank you. I don't know what it means anymore, but let's see.
I know.
I might have a coughing fit halfway through this. There's an epidemic or a pandemic going through London where everyone has got a cough. It's the identical cough, or they've got flu. It's terrible here.
Oh, I know what you mean. I'm unwell as well. It's just the whole world is suffering right now.
I know, we're suffering.
We're suffering. Let's talk about The Crown while I got you. You've said that working on the series has reinforced your perceptions of the monarchy generally, but what about Prince Philip himself? Did you have preconceived ideas and notions about him, and did they change after playing him?
I did. I had the same preconceptions that many people have, that he was rather, oh God, coughing, rather removed individual, didn't have a lot to say for himself, and whenever he did, he would put his foot in his mouth and say some off-color comment. Since doing a lot of reading about him and watching a lot of video and talking to people who knew him and worked with him, I got a completely different picture of the man. And I think what I tried to do, and what The Crown tries to do in general, is to humanize these people who are seen as icons and fairly distant, and we all have to look up to them and doff our forelocks. And I found out a lot about him. He was he is and was a very humane man. He worked for lots of charitable organizations, set up the World Wildlife Fund, did a great deal of good throughout the world. And obviously a great support for the Queen. And I tried to put some of that, or as much as possible, that humanity into him. Also a sense of humor, not the sense of humor that people thought he had. But there's definitely a warmth to the man, and a very, I think most of the times when I work on characters, especially real life characters, and I've played a few, I try to find, well, like all of us do when we're looking for what makes a character tick, try to find some of their foibles and their weaknesses. And I think, oftentimes the weaknesses make a person, they make them behave in a certain way. And I don't know if it was a weakness, but he suffered most of his life, I think, from what I can read, from not having a settled family, not having a settled family life. And that's what he wanted, and the royal family gave him that, in bucket loads.
That's right. I hear criticism about The Crown often, and I always say, this is not a documentary, it's a drama series. And just personally, as a member of the Commonwealth, I don't identify with the monarchy. In fact, I'm probably, if I have to be an anti-monarchist, I don't know if you ever felt that way, but this show has made me really appreciate them, because it has humanized them. And who knows how much of this is even true? It doesn't matter. It just matters that we look at these people as human beings with family feelings. Yeah. And do you feel the same way?
Well, it's the only way you can approach The Crown.
Yeah.
I'm not a monarchist, and I'll give you an illustration of I've not been a monarchist since age 6, which was my 6th birthday was 3 days before the coronation, and my family bought a television especially to watch the coronation on television. It was a screen smaller than my laptop that I'm looking at now,
yeah,
in black and white. And I'd been given a birthday present of a toy cannon that fired matchsticks. And I remember lying on my stomach as the coronation proceeded across the screen, the coronation coach and the horses and the soldiers firing my cannon at the screen. So you know, from an early age, royalty meant something different to me. I do have a great deal of respect for them. And what I do have is a great deal of respect for Peter Morgan's view of the royal family, which is what we're dealing with. It almost, well, I think everything is taken from events that happened. And what Peter tries to do is that he makes enormous assumptions about how they might be feeling about things and what their emotional life is. And that's the picture that we're trying to fill in. You know, we all know certain things happen. One of the difficulties, I think, with this present series, series 5 and 6 that we're making now, is it is very much in recent memory.
Yeah. When
I started watching The Crown, the series 1, I started watching it reluctantly. I thought, you know, it's I thought I'd never want to watch it, the same as I thought I'd never want to watch Game of Thrones, because it's not a genre I'm interested in. Fantasy, yeah, the Crown is there's no dragons involved apart from the Welsh flag, but it's you know, it's a kind of fantasy world for a lot of people. But I started watching the first series and I got hooked because it reminded me of my childhood. It also showed me what an extraordinary actress Claire Foy is. I thought she was, I stayed with it. I got hooked through her, I think.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, there was less criticism of it because it was history.
Yeah, removed.
And now we're in people's faces with things, they know where they were. A lot of people know when such and such a thing happened. They know where they were when Diana died or when Diana got married, and you know, all this stuff.
That's right.
And I think it upset a minority of people in this country. I don't think it upset anybody in America when I was there recently talking to people, that it was so recent. The Queen's death was so recent and it seemed disrespectful. And of course, if anything, it's entirely respectful of the Queen. It shows what a strong character she was, what drove her, that sense of duty. You know, I became and have become extremely proud of this series and how it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Of all people, you'd want Peter Morgan to be the one and his team to bring this to life. He's done this before, and he's so talented at bringing historical moments to life, but through his own lens. He took Philip in some honestly quite unexpected directions over season 5, particularly his friendship and connection with Penny Knatchbull. And how familiar were you with that whole story before?
Not at all.
Scripts. Yeah, neither was I.
I knew when I went to meet Peter, that was one of the things he talked about. What he wanted to do with Philip was to explore this relationship with Penny. And you'd kind of heard rumors that Philip had affairs throughout his life.
Yeah.
And some of the rumors were started by Michael Gambon, the actor. There was a rumor that Philip had an affair with Anna Massey, the actress. All started by Michael Gambon. Anyway, I knew very little about it. And I went away from the meeting with Peter thinking, is this a road I want to go down? Yeah. Do I want to be the one who's going to expose this relationship? Anyway, the next thing I did was I went on holiday to France. And I'm sitting in the kitchen and I thought, well, I'll just Google. And I got French Google. And French Google was page after page after page of the relationship between Philip and Penny, all making huge assumptions about the relationship. But the good old British people and the good old British press knew, well, the people didn't know about it because the press, I'm sticking my neck on the line now. They've got somebody's suppressed it somewhere. That, you know. Yeah. And anyway, it's what we see is well, what we see is what we see. We're very upfront about it. That is, it is a benign friendship in which he did find a lot of comfort. I believe the intentions behind Peter's writing, that she was part of the family, for God's sake. But you know, this country especially loves a scandal, and you know, they would want to run with it. But
That's right.
no,
Yeah.
and what helped, I think what helped enormously is that Natasha McElhone, who played Penny, is we've been friends for 25 years.
Really?
And so there's you know, there's I felt we were just playing ourselves, just two friends who were talking about each other, me comforting her, explaining things about you know, how to go through a bereavement. And yeah, I didn't feel, and it hasn't been picked up on. People who were criticizing it early on, this relationship, it hadn't even been shown, it hadn't been seen, and it was like, just wait and see how we do it.
Yeah.
It's like when I played Shylock in Merchant of Venice, 2016, sort of the criticism, this play shouldn't be performed, it's anti-Semitic, it's this, and wait and see how we do it. That's and because you can bring, you know, we brought a whole, what we thought was a different take on the Merchant of Venice. And I think I feel the same about The Crown, just wait and see. Yeah. And I think once people saw it, I think it's that the exposing, if you want to use that word, of that relationship has been vindicated in the way we've done it and the way Peter wrote it.
Typically, as always, I don't think he's ever put a foot wrong. It actually reminds me of when you were in Miss Saigon and there was, you know, some uproar because you're playing someone of a Eurasian descent, and then you've ended up winning an Olivier and a Tony. Like, you know, it's like you just need, everyone just needs to chill out and let's just see the art before we judge it. You know, you mentioned Natasha McElhone, like she is phenomenal as Penny. I hope we see her at the Emmys in the guest category, because, and the two of you together, I kept thinking, have you worked together before? You've got this great connection on screen, and it really
we did work together.
Yeah,
we worked together. Something very, very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we used to spend time. We filmed in Paris, and we'd take the Eurostar late on a Sunday night to film on the Monday.
Wow.
And I remember reading through scenes on Eurostar with her, and we both rewrote a scene that we were to shoot the next day because, sorry, I'm getting off the screen, because it was overwritten, this scene. And I remember we wrote it out on the tray, and I took it to John Frankenheimer, and we were on the lot, I think. We were in the open air somewhere, yes. And I said, John, tomorrow's scene or today's scene, whatever, we rewritten. He said, read it to me. Did you ever come across John Frankenheimer?
No.
Extraordinary.
Oh, wow.
Extraordinary character. So I said, I read it to him, and he's great. We'll do it. Go and tell them in the office. That's what we're doing.
Wow.
And so I had to take my piece of paper to the script office, and they were going, no, you can't do it. No, John said, it's okay. We can do this. And we did. And it was a good scene, very good scene.
Wow.
We didn't get a credit.
I was going to ask you, where was the screenwriting credit? Like, you don't even get credit. All right, you just have to be the lowly actors then. Fine. You know what, though? The reason why I felt it was so compelling is because when Philip in this season is not with her, and of course, you know, he has moments with Imelda, who is so wonderful as the Queen in the third iteration of the Queen. But he's actually, I found this season, Peter really drove home his underlying discontent and how he saw himself and his own accomplishments, his inability to find calm and fulfillment. And I think this season, Philip seemed less willing to hide his frustration and maybe even his bitterness. I was just wondering if you agree with that assumption.
No, I do, and that was great to play. I mean, he's seen very much as the man who's 3 feet behind the Queen, and we don't really know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
And there's a long scene between Imelda and I in, I think it's episode 6, where we're in Russia, and I confessed to her that I'm taking a friend, and we recorded that. We filmed it in a number of ways, and it was very simple. We didn't move very much, and there was one. Well, the scene became very Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at one point, which we both played. I think she's played Martha, and then we pulled back. Obviously, we thought we can't get too far a road to go down.
I want to see that.
But it was, it was a way of working out what frustrations Philip had. And I did get very angry with Imelda, and I shouted at her, and it was great to do. And then we could, pull it back and refine it. But yeah. I loved doing that scene. And when we had the read through with Christian, the director, we rehearsed weeks and weeks before. We just read through the scene, and we were in the rehearsal room, and I was sat at one end of a big table, and Imelda would just happen to be sat at the far end of the room, and we just said, let's just read it through. And we'd stopped reading, and Christian said, "That's how we're going to shoot it." What? You're going to be over there, and Imelda's going to be over there, and it's this distance between the two of them, which visually is very interesting. They're not two people sitting down for a cozy chat. And he starts speaking almost as soon as she comes in the room. It's no, it's great to do that.
It's beautiful. That whole Penny House episode is incredible, and that scene is very compelling because yes, he's ready to go as soon as she's in there. He had rehearsed that in his head, and he was going to tell her. He's going to tell the Queen what's happening, and she's like, "What?" Beautiful.
Yeah.
Before I let you go, 2 quick questions about your career generally. I was so sure that you were going to get nominated for Carrington back in 1995 for the Oscars. That didn't happen. You got the BAFTA nomination. So then you finally get nominated for The Two Popes just not that long ago, that great film alongside Anthony Hopkins. You've got 2 Tonys, you've got 2 Oliviers, but it was nice to see you finally at the Academy Awards. What was that like as an experience?
It was a lot calmer than I expected. I've only ever seen it on the television, and it seems like great. But everyone is in such a good mood. It's it was great. I was pleasantly surprised. I had a really nice time. Saw people I knew, saw people I've never met before in my life, and everyone's very supportive of each other, especially if you're not in the same category. It was a great night, and leading up to the great thing about The Two Popes. You do these junkets and you travel a lot publicizing a film. And sometimes it can be a bit of an effort, but there was no effort involved. It's everywhere we went around Europe and Latin America and America. There was a sense of celebration of the film. You go in at the end of the screening, people would stay, they wouldn't leave. And I was also traveling with Fernando Morelos and the producer Tracy Seawood, no, it was just great. Anthony didn't do the traveling, bastard, but he got away with it. He did all the work, but it meant that I got some very good jokes in, about Tony when he wasn't there.
I think that's totally worth it. So final question.
But we had a really wonderful time making that film, and it was the nomination was I'm sure everyone says this, but it was icing on the cake. But it was the film that was the important bit for me.
Firstly, I love Fernando Morales' work, and that film was amazing. All of my parents, everyone was so into it, and I just loved it. That was right during the pandemic or after after the worst part of it. Very, very great movie. Final
Yeah.
question is: you've played kings, generals, cardinals, a pope, governors, the president of the United States, and now a prince. Then last year you were knighted in real life. It seems an obvious question, but what was that like to be given that kind of honor?
It's like I didn't think I wanted to watch The Crown or Game of Thrones. I didn't think I would ever accept a knighthood. I'd accepted a CBE, and the biggest opposition, well, it was silent opposition, was my wife. She had no desire to be called Lady Kate Pryce, whatever. She has no desire to be called Mrs. Pryce, even. And why should she? But I'm glad it's, it came when I'm 75. I wouldn't have, and politically it's difficult, but I sold it to myself that if I was a French citizen, it would be the Légion d'honneur, and that's what it is to me. It's from my it's from my work. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful honor. And on that note, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on a beautiful performance as Prince Philip, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much, and happy Christmas to you all. And I can take the green screen down now, can I?
You can. You should see what he really has back there. It is terrifying.